Well, Chris Powell, welcome to the Integral Chat. Thank you so much for joining us. I've known you for a few years and you've had a rich and varied career. So it's really difficult to know where to start, to be honest. But I think I'll start with Charlton because it's a club that's really close to your heart. There's been a lot of changes there, a lot of upheaval. But it seems to me now with Johnny Jackson and Jason Ewell there, they're doing a terrific job, aren't they? What are your thoughts on how they've coped so far? Unbeaten in 5 or 6, I think, so doing pretty well.
Unbeaten in 6. I've been following them and sending texts to them both. Not all the time because they've got to find their own way and get through what it is to be a young manager for the first time. So I'm really pleased because there's been too much upheaval from way back. I'm not going to hark on about what happened to me with the takeover way back in 2014, but they've needed, I feel, just in the short term initially, to have someone that the fans can trust and hang their hat on. And you've definitely got that in Johnny. It was one of the best decisions I've ever made in the time I've been a manager, in making him captain of the club. And I think he's seen it all. They can trust him. They can trust Jason. John has learnt from a lot of different managers, where Jason has gone down the coaching route, and he's with England under 20s. So he's got someone, John, who, and Jason, who can organise and coach the team. But so can John. I know he can. And I think it's a real lift for everyone connected with Charlton. And, saw the power of the crowd and the support when they played Plymouth the other week, over 20,000. It's a club that minimum should be in the Championship. And, it'd be great if they could get back to those Premier League days. But, little by little, small steps. And hopefully they can get back to, where I feel they belong.
Yeah, one step at a time. But Lee Bowyer managed to do that for one season, brought them back to the Championship. And he brought back a bit of heart, I think, a bit of the soul back to the club. And that, I think that's why it would be important for Johnny Jackson to take over, because he's also someone deeply connected with the club. And that's important, isn't it? Are you surprised that he hasn't been given the job yet? Or do you understand why Thomas Sandergaard hasn't made the move yet?
Yeah, I think maybe they felt it was too early for him. Every time it's sort of come up, I think it was Carl Robinson and obviously Nigel, and in between that was Bo. I think they felt maybe it was too early for John, but the time's right now. I think they've tried the experience route, and I think maybe they've just needed to connect again. And I think you're right, Bianca. I think when you look at the history of Charlton, Curbs was successful, played for the club. I was successful, played for the club, so did Bo, and now hopefully Johnny and Jason. So maybe it's meant to be like that for Charlton. I know it doesn't work for everyone. We've seen it with Manchester United recently with Ollie, a favourite son, and it doesn't always work. But maybe Charlton just need that with their history and all what's gone on. I think in the short term they need that, and hopefully Johnny can continue and have sort of medium and long-term plans. It's just, I need to make him manager. They haven't done it yet. It's caretaker. Bizarre. He's won 4 and drawn 2 of his games, and he won the only game last year. He's never lost a game as a manager so far. So hopefully when it happens, he doesn't lose the game after his name. But no, I'm sure he'll do really, really well.
Yeah, he certainly won't be complacent, that's for sure. And with Jason beside him, you said he went down the coaching route, and he went through the elite coaching placement program, didn't he?
Yeah.
He was a beneficiary of that. You went through the same process as well, didn't you, Chris? Yeah. It's really interesting because it shows how important that program is and has been, because yourself, what you've gone on to do since then, and Jason as well. Can you just tell us a little bit about what the programme is and why you feel it's important?
Yeah, I think the FA were in talks with the PFA for a number of years, to be honest. I know Paul Elliott and Brendan Batts and Garth Crooks were in talks with Dan Ashworth before he moved on as technical director to go to Brighton, and it carried on with Les Reed. And they just felt that it would be a real lift for coaches of colour to encourage them if they saw a black coach with every England team. And they felt that would sort of help the disparity and sort of the lack of coaches, not for anyone's fault. It's just trying to inspire and show people that actually it can happen. So we all had to interview and go through the process. And I was told that I was given the senior role, which was brilliant. Jason is now with the under-20s. I think he was with the 18s or 19s previous to that. And I think it's just showing people visibility. I think that helps, but also an opportunity for whoever gets a role, myself or, Ashley Cole's now with the 21s, Jolien Lescott with the 21s, Omar Rizza, Marcus Bignett. And I think it's important that not only do the public and ex-pros and pros see us there, but also the players, the young players. There's a little bit of relatability. Yeah. They can confide, they can understand. Maybe I might understand more than someone else, certain situations. And I think it just helps everyone. I think it makes us all come together. And no more was that as strong as the Euros with sort of the taking of the knee, and myself, Raheem, Harry Kane, Jordan Henderson, obviously led by Gareth, Marcus Rashford, Tyrone Mings. We had a real frank and open discussion about what we should do. If you think, Bianca, back to the start of the tournament, we were booed. In the end, we were being clapped. And I think that showed the power of sort of maybe my presence, but also the other guys and how open they are and how open Gareth lets them be. And, that's one example of being on this scheme. But it's a scheme, but we don't see it as that, Bianca. No. I think all the players feel part of the teams, and we have to show we're worthy of being there. And obviously I'm seeing how Gareth and Steve Holland work, and Martin Margaretson, and now Paul Nevin. On the football front, it's been a great learning curve for me. It's great for me to be involved with the calibre of player, and you feel you deserve to be there. So it's been like you said at the start. It's been a long and varied road for me, but this summer and hopefully next winter will be the pinnacles where standing there singing the national anthem alongside the other staff in the Euros and now in the World Cup in Qatar will be something really special.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, there are things that you've been through in your life that only you could understand if it's happening to a player. Yeah. For example, after the missed penalties, we all kind of knew what was going to happen. Yeah. But for someone who has probably been down that road, it's a lot easier for you to relate to the players and probably to reach them as well than it would any other coach. And that's another reason why it's so important for you to be there.
Well, I'll tell you a story, Bianca. We obviously played in Hungary this year, and I'm sure you remember we won 4-0. But there was a lot of racist abuse aimed at the players on the field. And then at the end, I got it coming off the field. And there was a member of staff, who was really shocked by it. And I just said to him, this is it. This is in certain places, especially abroad, we can still have it, that small-mindedness of people, because they may not have worked or lived or gone to school with someone different to them. But what really hit home was the next day, I made sure I just spoke to all the black players and just said, if you're okay, if you need to talk about anything. And one player, I won't say who it is, and you might be able to work it out. I said to him, how are you? And he was really good. He said, I'm not bothered by it. I'm shocked, but I've just got to carry on. It's ignorance. And, he was quite mature. He's a young player. But then he said to me, have you ever experienced it? I thought it was really interesting because maybe in his head he thought, oh, it's only happened to him and the guys now. And because he's so young, he wasn't around in the 80s and how bad it was, and even earlier than that. And I thought that was great, and I said to him, yeah, absolutely I have. And I said the difference, sadly for me, was we had nowhere to turn. We had to kind of suffer in silence sometimes. I said to him, did have good people. I had a manager who was brilliant with me and the other black players, and also some of my teammates. And I said, it wasn't like how it is now. It's a crime now. Where I said back then it was either had to fight fire with fire, if you know what I mean, Bianca.
I do.
You just had to kind of just leave the scene and get out of there. So I said it's a lot different, nowadays, which is right. I said because you should be able to live your life freely. But I said, unfortunately, it still happens. And, sadly for us, it's more online now. It's more hidden. And, I'm still of the thinking that, we should still do something about that. That's still something that, won't go away in a hurry. And, I really hope that the social media platforms will really clamp down. They haven't done enough in my eyes yet.
They really haven't.
Hopefully they will. Absolutely.
Anyway, let's talk about more positive things in terms of your time at England, because as we've said, you've done pretty much everything as a manager, as the number one, and now you're on the coaching staff with Gareth. How does this situation compare? Because you're at the very, very highest level, and you've been in, listening to the national anthem on the touchline there. We've all seen your celebrations as well. You were living out our dreams, quite frankly, during the summer. It was just so brilliant to see. You look like you're really, really enjoying yourself. And I don't know, being a manager has its plus points and its negatives. Yeah. And being on the coaching staff, even though you're not sort of at the top, making all of the decisions, what's it like for a man who's had the best of both worlds, if you like?
Being on the coaching staff is a lot less pressure. Yeah. You tend to enjoy yourself a bit more. I think it's more relief when you're a manager that you get a result. And yeah, there are some elements of being a manager I do miss at this present time. Who's to say I won't do it again? But I felt the Euros, particularly the way Gareth manages and leads everyone, he allows everyone to sort of play their part but enjoy themselves at the same time. And obviously you saw me running up and down against Germany, which, because they're sort of the old enemy, I know Scotland are, but Germany, we always seem to get negative results against them in, semi-finals and finals and all these sort of things. So I kind of let myself go, but I think we all did. I think we all felt that this was our moment to enjoy ourselves and show the nation, especially on the backdrop of the lockdown and COVID, that we just wanted to play our part in trying to help the nation. And that was one of our big drivers. Our identity of who we are was another big driver for us. And I think, when you're a coach, you can really immerse yourself in the players. As a manager, you do have a little bit of distance. You do enjoy yourself, but you tend to have the serious conversations when, they're either playing or not playing, which is never great, but it's part of the role. And I just, at this present time, I'm working at Spurs in the academy, had a slight touch with the first team last year alongside Ryan Mason, Nigel Gibbs, back with the academy now. And got the England role. My contract's till the end of the World Cup at least. So, it's actually, I can enjoy myself. I'm trying to, I love the game. I want to stay in the game. And, I've had periods out of the game and it's no fun. You watch lots of games and you keep yourself busy, but there's nothing like coaching. There's nothing like, integrating with good people, like-minded people, where you still continue your learning. And that's me, you know, at England, still continue my learning. At Spurs, you know, I'm sort of the baby relatively with regards to sort of my knowledge of academy football. But I'm at the senior end, so actually it's twofold. You know, I'm learning off them, but they actually learn off me because I've obviously been a manager, Championship level and League One level, and you know, coaching and working with the cream of English talent. So I've got the best of both worlds, and you know, I'm really enjoying it. I'm making the most of it. I know it doesn't last forever, so you know, why don't you enjoy it while you can?
Yeah. Speaking of contracts, Gareth Southgate's just been given his new contract to the end of 2024, which is well deserved. Why do you think he deserved that longevity?
Well, I think his contract actually, Bianca, was until the end of the World Cup, 2022. But I think they feel he's made good progress, which he has. I think when you look at him and his profile and how he handles the role, no one's really handled it like that before. It's quite unique what he's done when you look back on the 5 years. And there's been progress. You know, we're in the top 3 in the world. I believe we were sort of 10th or 11th when he took over. He's shown a pathway for young players, which is important. People have always talked about it, but never really done it. But he has. And at the right times, he's put in young players to just let them experience what it's like with the senior squad. I think as a spokesman and actually how he handles very difficult and tricky situations, he does it with real flair. He's thoughtful. He has empathy with people. He wants to understand. He wants to know what people are feeling, how they're feeling. He's encouraged the players to be very open. Don't think we've seen that before. So I think he's deserved it in respect of that. There's been progress. Of course, we want to win every game and we want to win every tournament. And yeah, we've been very close. And it's maybe, you know, let's see if we can get over the hurdle or, you know, in the next 2 tournaments. And I think the powers that be have looked at it and felt that, you know, he's someone who embraced the job. He hasn't gone into it for no other reason other than he wants to make the nation proud, and he wants to make himself and his players and staff and empower everyone to be better. Because it's, you know, it's huge when you're wearing those 3 lions. It really is huge. I've seen the power of it when we go abroad. You know, everyone wants a piece of us. We're a nation that people look out for. And we travel in numbers as well. Now they're allowed to travel, the fans. So it's all encompassing. I think he's someone who, you know, wants to continue doing well. And I think it's public knowledge that they've actually, in light of what's gone on in the world, that, you know, it's performance linked. So it's performance linked. So I think that's right. You know, if he's successful, then earns his money. So I think that's a real clever move. I know he's very happy and proud, and certainly Steve. They dovetail really well. 2 different personalities, but actually it works well with regards to the role and the preparation and organisation of the team. So yeah, I'm really, really pleased for him, really proud for him.
Yeah, he's a great ambassador, isn't he, in that role for sure. In terms of what he does as a football manager, results are always so important. And probably even more so when you're an international manager, because it's not like when you're in the leagues, you know what it's like. If you make a mistake tactically, there's always Saturday or there's always Tuesday. The next game comes around really quickly. For Gareth, he doesn't have that luxury, does he? You've seen that side of it now. What's that like when I mean, I took about 3 or 4 days to get over the disappointment of losing that tournament.
Not the only one.
I felt it. I was absolutely devastated. So what's it like when you're on the inside and you know you're so close, but now it's all done and you can't come back on Saturday and win the next game?
Well, I've got 2 examples, and one is Italy, the final. And that night and the next day, we were all so numb. But we had breakfast and a sort of early lunch, a brunch, I should say. And then we dispersed at sort of midday. And I got home and I just thought, what's next? And I never turned on the TV for 4 days. I didn't put Sky Sports News on, no chance, because I knew it would just be on a loop and I just didn't want to see it. I didn't leave the house apart from walking the dog with my hood up. I didn't want anyone to see me. But actually, when we got back together again for the September camp, he set the scene really, really well. I thought it was really clever in how, we had very important games to get on with. It's early part of the season. Not everyone's 100% yet. They're still finding their form and finding their feet and getting over what happened in the summer. And there was a real focus. And I thought that was really good how we sort of handled it. We meet a day early, the staff, so we have time together. And I thought that was important, that we just, spoke openly about how and where we were. And we got on with it. Once the players came in, we just focused on the up-and-coming games. And then we had it again when we drew with Hungary in October. And we needed 4 points out of the Albania-San Marino games. There was a lot of negative press, and we know that comes with the territory. We didn't play well against Hungary. But most importantly, we didn't lose. We had another point. And I think that's how far we've come, and Gareth, straight away after the game, just said, it hasn't happened for us. We'll learn from it. And when we're together the next 2 games, we'll be prepared and we'll move forward with what we need to move forward. And, well, the results were telling. Beat Albania 5-0 and San Marino 10-0. And, there was a real focus, and the players and the staff just came together brilliantly. And we didn't lose a game in that qualifying. We won 8 and drew 2, and we did exactly what was needed to be done. And I think sometimes people don't realise, Bianca, we had a whole European Championship campaign, played every game, and we had a whole World Cup qualifying campaign in 1 year, in 1 calendar year. It's never happened before. So a lot of football for these guys on top of their Premier League duties. So a lot of football, a lot of time away. And, we handled it pretty well.
Yeah. My fear was that we got that close, we got to the final. I was thinking, this is our chance now. This is our chance to win something. But obviously there is going to be another chance next winter. Do you think we've got a chance of taking the World Cup? I mean, that's the big daddy, isn't it?
You've always got a chance once you qualify. And we've got over that hurdle, and I think that was major. And now it's about the preparation, and actually it's going to be quite unique, obviously, because it's in the winter months.
Yeah.
And one good thing, which I think, this is my personal view so far, is, people always say, oh, the World Cup or Euros at the end of a real hectic, hard season. Well, this time, the lads will have only have played, 13, 14 games. They'll be in a good place. They'll be flying, to be honest. So it will be different. Obviously, it's in Qatar, and I believe in just one city, in Doha, with 8 or 9 stadiums. I might be wrong. So all we've got is the March friendlies, Nations League, I believe, in May, June, and then some friendlies September. But then that's it. There's no warm-up games. Because I'm sure you know, or you may not, the Premier League stops on the Sunday, and then the following Sunday is the first game.
It's madness, isn't it?
Yeah, so we're going to have to travel, and I would think we would have to play some sort of game, whether it's an internal game between ourselves or against the locals. I don't know how it's going to work, but we're going to need some game time.
Maybe you'll have to get the boots on again.
Oh no chance. No. You've got to be crazy. Those days are well and truly done. So I don't know what we're going to do. Maybe once the dates of the games come out, if we're actually quite late in the tournament, there might be a gap where we can actually play a sort of friendly or, free 30-minute periods, because we've got to get used to the surroundings and the conditions. So that's going to be a very, very important part of it.
Okay, just moving on to a bit about yourself. We haven't got time to go into your career because it's been so long and eventful. We've spoken about some really high moments. You had some brilliant times at Charlton, with the promotions, obviously with England now, some unbelievable experiences you've had. When you look at the other side of the coin, you always come across as a really upbeat, positive guy, but you must have had some dark moments in football management, because you can have some really lonely moments as well. When you look back, what were the times where they were really tough for you, and how did you cope with them?
Well, I think every time you lose your job, there's always a period. Everyone says it's good because you can have time to reflect, but let me tell you, you can reflect within a couple of weeks. So when you're out of work for 9-10 months, a year, it's a long time. But what it does do, it does build resilience. I think you have to go through the experience. People always say you're not a real manager until you've been sacked. It's not a nice feeling, of course not. But I always look at it and say, well, maybe it just wasn't right for that club and that group of players at that particular time. I had a group of players at Charlton where, we built a brilliant team, camaraderie, everything was just heading in the right direction, and we got success. Sometimes you're just swimming against the tide and it just doesn't work, no matter what hole you're trying to plug. And maybe it just needs someone else, someone who's got a different skill set to you, or might just get a different sort of tune out of those players. So, like you said, I always try to be positive in respect of, okay, fine, let's move on. This game has always employed people and always sacked people. And I think I'm of the ilk that, you learn from it, you meet some good people there. I don't think you should ever be negative about the club. You just move on. It was your time and it's going to be someone else's turn. And I think that builds resilience in you, that when it happens again, you never feel it's right, but actually you just say, okay, I'll take the good out of it, and what I did wrong, can I be better next time? I think that's what you've got to be in life, to be honest, and any role you're in. But it's never nice. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, it's great. But you've got to believe in yourself that you can come back again.
Yeah, I think with you saying that sometimes it's just not the right fit or not the right time, could be said about Nuno at Spurs, and now Antonio Conte's come in, and you saw kind of the passion after the win against Leeds at the weekend. I mean, wow, he really, really was happy about that victory, wasn't he? He went for it. He was so fired up. I mean, it was great for Tottenham fans to see. I think that's kind of what they've been waiting for. But how do you think he's going to take this Tottenham team, and what do you think they're capable of under him?
Well, I was at the game, and it was chalk and cheese, and how he was during the second half and at the end of the game, really resonated with me and definitely with all the fans. But we've got a manager of proven quality. His track record speaks for itself, and for him to come to Tottenham Hotspur and come back to the Premier League shows the power of the league, and also what he feels he could possibly do. January will be interesting. I'm sure he will look to shape and mould the squad into his image and how he sees the game. He's changed the way he played and trained already. It's well documented about the food and nutrition. He's trying to educate boys.
Where do you stand on the old ketchup dilemma?
You know what? If you're a player, it doesn't affect me now, so it's fine. I can have as much ketchup with mayo as I want. But I think he's trying to say elite players, you have to have things in moderation. I think people saying it's completely banned. I don't think it's completely banned, but I think it's more moderation. If you don't have it, it's better for you. But if you have it, don't go over the top. And I think he's just trying to shape the club in how he sees it, and how, if it's worked elsewhere, then obviously he feels it'll work at his present employers. So, it's going to be interesting. And obviously, when we play Chelsea, I wonder how that's going to turn out when we go to Stamford Bridge. We've already played them at the stadium, at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. So it's great that he's there. I think it's reinvigorated, the supporters, and we've got someone who's been successful at club and international level as well.
Yeah, because I think the Tottenham players, they didn't look themselves. They have looked a bit out of sorts, but he's definitely the type of character who will get the best out of them, isn't he?
Oh yeah, I mean they've training schedules has changed from what I've seen, and they've trained long, and obviously he's getting his ideas across and implementing his own style, and that's what every manager does. But I think he, because of the success he's had, if that's the way he's worked before and he's had results and it's got wins and it's got championships, then I see no reason why he would change with us. And, I hope that the boys, really perform and, play the way they did against Leeds, especially in the second half, which was absolutely outstanding.
And just finally, Chris, we touched on it briefly before about maybe you going back into management. I never understand why anyone would want to be a manager. Sometimes when I'm in the gantry, I'm looking down, in the technical area, and whoever it is getting beat, and I just think, oh, why do you put yourself through this? Yeah. You're all gluttons for punishment, but it's addictive, isn't it? And you always have that kind of thing in the back of your mind, when you'll go back. Do you think about it often?
Not often, but I do. I do. I think everyone who's managed would think that way. But at this present time, I'm in a role I really enjoy, nurturing sort of young players to become good professionals and have a career in the game. I think my experience is worthy of doing something like that and putting something back in the game. I've always given young players an opportunity when I've managed. So now I sort of say to them what's expected. A lot of them want to go out on loan, and I'll say what's expected of them. And we've got good coaching staff, and I enjoy the role. And doubled with the England role, I'm in a really good place with not loads of pressure.
Yeah.
But maybe. I think, is there one more opportunity? Sometimes I think that. And you never know. You never know how this game is. Sometimes things just happen for a reason, and you meet someone or you come across someone or an opportunity arises that is right for you. You never know, but we'll have to wait and see on that front. But I'm certainly enjoying what I'm doing now, and we'll see what happens in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you've got the perfect job with England, but there could be one more roll of the dice. We'll have to wait and see. Thank you so much, Chris, for joining us on the Integral Chat. It's been brilliant to talk to you. Thank you so much.
No problem. Cheers. Thank you.